841-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your live and local St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Aaron Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services, financial planner and wealth manager, and I'm joined this week and every single week with my dad, Jeff Lapidus, wealth manager and retirement coach, and my husband, Robert Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning, babe.
Good morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan with several goals in mind.
First is to protect and truly grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate.
Second is to provide an income stream they can rely on so they can do all the things they want in retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches or charities, whoever it might be, without Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron, Rob, and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Good morning, gang.
Good morning.
And good morning to everybody out there in Radio Land. Thanks so much for taking your time to visit with us today. We've got 2 hours of fun, as usual, on tap for you. But as you know, we're live and local. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And I'll tell you, I can't wait to get back into the studio next week.
I thought you weren't going to be back till the week after. I mean, of course, I cannot wait either. I just thought the calendar reflected.
Oh, you're right, honey. I got a golf tournament next week. Sorry about that. I appreciate that. But just as a reminder, there are lots of ways that you can keep in touch with us during the week. It's easy to do, right?
That's right. Log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. You can click on the Contact Us button and request a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both. Or you can click on any of the pop-up boxes that appear that say sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner. And Rob keeps the last 2 years archived on the website, along with quite a bit of other materials. We also have an excellent YouTube page that we'd love for y'all to check out. Charlie, our producer, our board op, also records everything for us, so we've got visuals to go with the audio now, so you can check those out as well. And Rob, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's in our July 2026 newsletter?
We've got some great articles in the July 2026 newsletter that you're sure to enjoy. Our first one being tariffs help drive decline in trade deficit. You know, we'll have to wait till the end of the year to see how this ultimately shakes out. But through the first 6 months of 2026, the trade deficit has dropped about 9% due to a declining good deficit and a growing surplus in services. Certainly a story we're going to keep our eye on as we move through the back half of this year. And that seems so odd to say, the back half of this year. It just seems like it's flying by.
It really is. Open enrollment around the corner.
Yeah, they're going to chain me and Frank to the desk. Can't wait. And our next article, is it time to declare your financial independence? Seems like a timely article for this July. Maybe you want to pay off debts. Perhaps maybe you don't want to rely on anyone for financial support. Maybe you'd like to retire early and travel. Financial independence, however you define it, is the freedom to live life on your terms. There are many ways to become financially independent. Most of them require hard work. They also require diligently balancing earnings, spending, and savings. Savings being the key one, in my opinion. And there's a great infographic here that shows hypothetically what $300 a month saved every month, growing at 6%, what that would grow to over 5, 10, and 20 years. Small savings can go a long way. In this example, $300 a month, getting that 6% return over 20 years would leave you with $140,000, not an insignificant amount of money. So just goes to show, small savings here and there can add up to big money later on. Our next article, the Employment Report, a closely watched report. The Bureau of Labor Statistics publishes job report data every Friday based on the info from the month before. The data comes from two primary sources, 60,000 households and about 350,000 job sites. Taken together, these sources measure the number of people employed, unemployed, number of people working part or full time, hours worked per week, weekly earnings, etc., etc., etc. This report is pretty important because it can impact a couple of things: interest rates and consumer spending. If you have an expanding job market, a rapidly expanded one, you could see interest rates being raised to kind of cool down the economy. If you see a rapidly falling job market, those interest rates may need to be cut, and that can have downstream effects on consumer spending, which makes sense. Less people employed, obviously you're going to have some drags on consumer spending. This is a great article if you have any knowledge gaps in understanding this timely report. And our next article, travel tips for globe trotters. 75% of Americans have traveled at least once outside the country. Over a third of Americans who haven't been outside the country say they would like to. This article lays out some great tips if you are going to take your travels international. And first thing you want to do is you want to obtain travel documents. It's a little bit of not a complicated process, but it can take some time. So you want to get those ducks in order before you decide to book that trip. And if you already have a passport, you want to make sure that you have at least 6 months of validity on those documents. You don't want to be caught overseas and find that your passport has now expired. You also may want to contact your credit card custodian and make sure that you let them know that you're going to be overseas. If the credit card sees a bunch of charges from Bangladesh, they may lock the card, and it's understandable. So you definitely, and another thing you might consider, depending on how long you're going to be overseas, you may want to supplement your insurance with a travel policy. And that is your 2026 newsletter in a nutshell. And just as a reminder, as my wife said, we keep the last 2 years, maybe even more, on the website. Bunch of other material for you to dive in. So by all means, avail yourself of all that content.
Again, Rob, nice job. We do call it the Coach's Corner. We'd love to send it to you every single month by email. And that's easy to do. Just go to our website, jblfinancial.com, and click on that Coach's Corner newsletter icon at the bottom left, or I think it shows up on every single page. So we'd love for you to sign up if you'd like to do that. And as a reminder, all of our clients are folks like you. They're our listeners. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire, or they're already retired. And as Aaron mentioned, our goal is to create a game plan for them so they can have a fun and financially secure retirement. So before we get into our content for the day, as I always have liked to say, we have a lot of things on our mind. What's more important is what's on yours. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the usually hot and heavy KTRS text line.
Text line is kind of quiet right now.
Okay, well, that sounds great. So why don't we get into our topic number one of the day, which is, I like to call this one questions to ask before you invest in inheritance. And, during a recent coaching review session that we had with Judy, who's 66, we learned that her mom had passed away, leaving her with about $170,000 of maturing certificates of deposit. Judy's single, and has been retired with us for about 3 years. So her game plan is already in place. We've established her vault, and at that time, she had $80,000 in it as a combination of cash, money market, and certificates of deposit. And she was interested in our recommendations on how to invest this newly found money.
So we thought it's oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, babe. I'm sorry.
So we wanted to ask her a few questions before making any investment recommendations. And the first thing is, has anything changed, and will you need access to some of these funds in the next year, year and a half, or even up to 2 years for any expenses that you might have, any vacations you're planning, purchases, maybe there's some rehabbing or remodeling, maybe this extra money has now motivated you to do some projects that you had been putting off. Is there anything that we want to avoid, any risk in the $170,000 that you've newly inherited, since it's coming out of CDs? This might be a different conversation if she had inherited assets that were already invested. But at this point, we will be looking at cash. So do we want to put that in something safe to be liquidated over the next 2 years, or do we have other opportunities?
Also, really the question also becomes, how does this additional funds affect her risk tolerance? Do we need to rebalance her portfolio at this particular moment to include this fixed income piece of her equation, or turning it into an equity piece in the equation? So those are a couple of important things that we really want to start with. I think certainly if you do receive an inheritance, you want to ask yourself the same questions. But, Rob, what would we do if alternatively Judy wasn't 66, but maybe she was 10 years younger?
Well, then the conversation
still actively at work.
Well, then the conversation would take a slightly different nature, and we might start by asking, is Judy maxing out her pre-tax contributions at her company's retirement plan? And, if she's eligible to make catch-up contributions, is she taking advantage of those?
It's a great point, which is Judy could use that opportunity to live off of some of the inheritance and also create a tax deduction for herself. So we could really turn this inheritance into something that could really accelerate her retirement savings and her current financial situation, can increase those retirement plan contributions or really max them out, live off of the inheritance. And because the inheritance was cash, we're going to make a non-taxable event, because Judy will inherit that money tax-free. She'll have to pay taxes on the interest earned of the CDs, but that'll be relatively nominal compared to the inheritance. And then she'll be able to take deductions on her income for all of the additional contributions that she would potentially make through work.
Another question we might ask is if her employer offers a Roth 401k component. That could be something that we take advantage of as well.
Which that would be excellent. It wouldn't create a tax deduction, but you'd create a relatively tax neutral event in that we could make contributions to the Roth. You don't get a deduction for that, but that money would be allowed to grow tax deferred and potentially tax free as long as she meets the 2 requirements of being over 59 and a half and having the money in there for at least 5 years.
Are there any reasons to accumulate money in either a pre-tax or an after-tax plan today? If so, when are those assets going to be needed?
So I feel like this is a very similar question to the one that we did ask Judy, the 10-year-older version of Judy, which is, do we need some of these assets in the short term? Although we love the idea of having assets have the potential to grow, not every asset has the same function. So sometimes when we have cash, we need it to be in cash, one, for emergencies that we are unaware of happening, and secondly, for planned events that we need income for or capital for. Certainly don't want to put short-term needs at long-term risk. So we don't want to have to make decisions about when to sell things if the market happens to be down with a known expense. So keeping some of that in cash might be important.
Another really great thing to ask would be, Judy, do you have any debt obligations that you'd like to liquidate? And how does liquidating those debt obligations, if you have them, affect your cash flow plan?
this is another great question, I think, because, a lot of people choose to work the equation in different ways. We could pay off debt, which might increase Judy's cash flow, allowing her to save more in the short term while she was still working. Or if she was retired, that means we pay off debt, we can reduce distributions in the long term. Or some people like to say, well, now I have the opportunity to just accelerate paying this payment off, or now I know I have the cash available to pay it off, but I don't necessarily feel the need to immediately. So got a few different options there.
It's all depending on how she feels about that.
Yeah, and certainly, today's inheritance can really significantly impact and have, in some cases, a really remarkable effect on your lifestyle. So ask yourself the questions before you spend. I think that really is sort of the conclusion you might want to come from this. And if nothing else, always make sure that you're consulting with your tax or financial advisor before doing some of these things, because there are tax implications that can occur, which is good. So
the text line is now heating up a little bit.
Let's do it.
And our first texter of the day says, what do you think of active versus passive funds? It seems that on occasion, active can sometimes outperform, but it can also underperform. What are your opinions?
So I want to start off with this, but I know, Dad, you have some opinions on this as well. I think that given the opportunity, why not win both sides of the argument, which is most people think of diversity as what you own. So do I own technology? Do I own international positions? Do I own bonds? Do I own short or long-term bonds? But we can also think of diversity on another level, which is how do I own these pieces of the market? And our texter is exactly right in that different forms of securities tend to perform differently in varying markets. We see that mutual funds or actively managed funds tend to outperform in good markets, and passive funds, we often think of these as index funds, they tend to outperform in volatile markets. And someone gave me a very interesting analogy, which I think is super helpful. If you think of investing as a ship, and we're not talking about one of the cool new Carnival ships that are like floating cities. We're talking about those ships that have the rowers underneath.
They still have those?
I don't think they still have them, but you could probably watch a few older movies, like I believe 10 Commandments might have.
Ben-Hur?
Ben-Hur has
ramming speed?
Exactly. Ben-Hur has a nice scene in there, so if you need another visual for this. So if you think of active management as those men underneath the ship that are doing the rowing, you want the rowers to row when the seas are calm. We know what's we have a nice runway. The market is generally up and to the right, so we've got what we would consider a calm, positive market. You want the rowers to put the pedal to the metal, or Rob, as you said, ramming speed. So really try to enhance those returns. But when the seas get rough and we start to see market volatility, you don't want the rowers going full speed. You want to put the sails up. And that's really what indexed or passive management can do, which is it's going to try to calm the ship during the storm, because passive management does not actively trade in any market condition. So in good market conditions, it's going to stay as it is. In volatile market conditions, it's going to stay as it is. The real differentiator becomes your active management. So if you have both components, you have the best opportunity to weather any type of sea or any type of market.
I would totally agree with that. No question about it. And certainly in our portfolios, what we do attempt to do is to balance both active and passive management, at the same time also using concept of sector investing, which is adding a little bit more emphasis when you can. So there is no one path to investing, and the bottom line is that it's good to have both, at
Right.
least in my opinion.
And if you have the opportunity to take advantage of multiple forms or multiple strategies of investing, they aren't necessarily competing with one another. What they're doing is just creating a portfolio that is going to help you achieve the best results in the long term. So I would say that taking advantage of all of the good options available is something that you definitely want to consider. Do we have any more text questions on deck?
We do. It's never an all or nothing as far as active versus passive, and it doesn't need to be.
That's a great point. I often think that I think many people have that approach to money, finance in general, like tends to be an all or nothing conversation. Do I pay this debt off or do I let it ride? Well, we could do a little of both. Do I save or do I invest? Could still do a little of both. So with that, why don't we do a little bit of a break? And when we get back, we will return to your text questions and phone calls. So keep them coming, 314-931-5877 or 84126 on the text line. We'll be right back.
It's St. Louis's biggest conversation. The Big 550. KTRS St. Louis.
Don't miss the summer sale going on all month long at Appliance Discounters. Come in today and save, and they'll deliver it tomorrow. Savings up to 60% off select models. In addition to their sales prices, Appliance Discounters is having huge factory rebates on select models. They have a 50,000 square foot warehouse full of savings. Just come by one of their 6 showrooms and they'll show you why they're called the Appliance Discounters. Appliance Discounters with 6 locations or online at theappliancediscounters.com.
It's hot out, but nothing can be hotter this summer than a Dogtown pizza. Hey, Josh here, and we're talking 425 degrees hot. 12 different varieties and a whole bunch of fresh toppings. Try the bacon, the 4-meat, or head to the garden for a veggie or tomato basil garlic.
Oh, you want to get hot?
Try the hot chicken pizza on for size. Sizzling. This summer's already hot, but make it even hotter with some Dogtown Pizza. Every local grocery store in town and at dogtownpizza.com.
Got gold? Get green at Jewels on Hampton. Jewels on Hampton pays the most for your precious metals, jewelry, gems, currency, antiques, and collectibles. Jewels on Hampton buys precious and semi-precious gems and stones, scrap gold, and sterling silver. Jewels on Hampton buys and sells paper money, wristwatches, and pocket watches. They even take pianos and cars. To sum up, bring your gold chains, bracelets, rings, coins, dental gold, and more to Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton Avenue in St. Louis. And get green online at jewelsonhampton.com.
Hey, St. Louis. Whether it be auto, home, life, or business insurance, Alexander Hinton has you covered as a trusted insurance agent of the Big 550 KTRS. Get a quote today with Alexander Hinton and American Family Insurance. Keep your insurance agent local, not managed by a call center, and speak to the same person every time you call.
Save now by calling 314-205-2050. That's 314-205-2050.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI and its operating companies. American Family Life Insurance Company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talking Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. It's approximately 9:28 here on the Big 550 KTRS. We're about halfway through hour number 1. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
And text line is heating up a bit. And our next texter writes, are both spouses required to attend an initial coaching session?
Well, this is a good question.
Someone wants to leave someone home.
Or in a lot of cases, maybe we have one spouse is already retired or has a more flexible schedule than the other. Few things on this. I would say it's not a requirement by any means that both spouses attend our initial coaching session. However, I think it's a good idea. So we try to be accommodating for everyone's schedule and that we offer Saturday appointments. We offer Zoom and phone appointments because we understand you just got off work. You don't necessarily want to hightail it in traffic to another meeting at 5+ o'clock. So we do try to be flexible to include everyone. If that's unattainable, then I think what we would at least like to do is be able to meet the spouse at some point. I think we also do a nice job of summarizing our meetings. So we try to put that in writing in a sense that you don't have to play phone with your spouse and try to explain what happened in the meeting. We'll have it nicely written out, and then that can be a conversation point for you all to have when you're at home discussing what happened.
So I guess the short answer to that is not necessary, but encouraged.
Well, if you want to be brief, I guess that's what you might say.
You want your significant other to wait in the truck? That's fine too.
Terrible.
Well, it's okay for somebody to come to test the waters, and
of course.
That's typically the reason why both spouses don't come to the first initial meeting. One's trying to say, "Hey, is this for real?" and doesn't make sense, and maybe one's a little more motivated than the other. It's all okay.
Sure.
Generally, as Aaron said, we like to make sure that anyone that comes in for a coaching session leaves with a lot more clarity than they came, and hopefully having most, if not all, of their questions they had answered before us. Usually session number 2 is we've created the bare bones of what we like to call your game plan. We really begin to formalize where we see things happening, not only timing, but structure. And that would certainly be the appropriate time for a spouse to join you if you're coming in to see it, because usually most of our clients, they become clients in the second session.
Well, we really would like everyone to be on the same page and be comfortable and confident in the plan that we've put together, because we really, we need both parties involved, because usually there's work on both sides.
And once you get by the initial couple of meetings, I mean, at that point, it's not uncommon. We just saw this last week where, one spouse will just come in just to do the review.
Sure.
And, you don't have to bring the whole family with you, although you certainly can.
There is room, both in parking spaces and in our conference rooms.
And we love to see you. So in either case, the answer is not required, but certainly something we think makes sense for everybody. And that kind of dovetails into, when we send out, when someone does call or text us to arrange a coaching session, we send out a list of information that we'd like them to bring to the meeting. It isn't everything that they have in their safe deposit box, but really we're talking about legal documents, wills, trusts, etc. if they have them, annuities, investment statements, tax returns, etc. So it gives us an opportunity to get a fuller financial picture of where you are. For folks that don't want to bring them in or don't bring them in, we thank them for making the visit, but we send them back home.
I mean, that part is that one's the deal breaker, right? Which is,
right.
We're prepared to have a conversation about your financial situation. In order to have that conversation, we need to see what your financial situation is. And Dad, I always love this analogy that you use, which is when you go in to see a physician, they like to run tests. They also might need to, you have a stomach ache, they want to palpate your abdomen. If you say no tests, don't touch me, it's going to be very difficult to get a diagnosis.
It's called take off your clothes.
So
I got that from your dad. I think it's hilarious.
So that being said, we are required to keep all of your information private. If you decide at the end of the coaching session that we're not the right fit, happy to return all those documents to you. So the goal is that when you come to see us, just like you said, Dad, you're going to have confidence and clarity about your financial situation. We'd like to be able to achieve that for you during our coaching session, and so we have some things that we need in order to do that.
You're asking us to potentially make a meal. We need to see the ingredients.
That's right. We got like 17 analogies going at one time. But
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's a certain level of trust that you have to have to be able to come in and visit and talk to somebody about your financial situation. If you're not there, that's okay. But our time is valuable, and frankly, just as valuable as yours. Right. So we like to make sure that everybody maximizes their time together.
That's right.
And our next texter writes, "Hey, I have a question regarding a 401k. Who is responsible to ensure that I do not go over the amounts regulated for 401k deposits? Am I responsible to watch that, or is the administrator?"
So usually the payroll company that is working with your employer does monitor that. However, it's ultimately your responsibility to ensure that you're not going over the contribution limits.
Yeah, honey, I don't have anything to add there, but I've never seen a situation where an employer permitted an employee to over-contribute because the plan sponsor is overlooking things. So I wouldn't be concerned about that. I would be concerned about. I was going to say I would be concerned about if you were somebody that also wanted to make a contribution to an IRA or Roth outside of your retirement plan. That those when it falls to you and it's an individual account, it's really on you. But when you have an employer as a plan sponsor, it really falls on them.
And our next texter writes, "I have an interest rate problem with my 401k. I did contact them, but they were no help. What recourse do I have at that point?"
I guess we're going to need a little bit more information on an interest rate problem that you're having. I think, unless, Dad, you have some insight on this, I would say that we need more information to give you guidance on where you would potentially go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the texter is asking about a specific benefit option that could be tied to some type of a fixed interest rate, and if that's an issue, you need to go directly to the plan sponsor, and they will give you satisfaction. You may not like the answer.
Well,
but,
right, they're going to answer your question, but if the answer to the question is a problem, we would probably need to know what the question is to try to help if there's anything more to do.
The only thing I could spin this to, again, without having further information, is there are some companies' plans, and these are ones that we actually provide for clients also, that have what are called guaranteed interest accounts that are associated in their plans. So what happens is when you make an investment into those accounts, you're really buying something dissimilar to think of it as a bond fund. And what happens is that if interest rates go up, that's good for you because you're earning more interest. But if interest rates go down and you want to pull money out to go somewhere else, you could have what's called a market value adjustment on those funds because the bonds become less valuable. So therefore, that could be a problem. That may be what you're referring to. I have no idea, but that would be the only thing I could imagine.
The one other thing I was thinking of is, it might not be quite an interest rate issue, but it is a liquidity issue. Which are those? Is it the stable value funds where sometimes you're limited in what you can withdraw from them over a certain period of time, or are they called something else? I know some 401k plans have those type of funds inside of their options as well.
Yeah, honey, I think you're actually referring to the same thing I was, which is the guaranteed interest funds.
Yeah.
Because the stable value funds are almost like a floating rate CD, because what happens is that the interest rate's very stable over long periods of time.
Right.
And they can be extremely effective because also they can be liquid if needed to. You don't really have any penalties to get in and out, but these guaranteed interest funds are subject to that. And I can tell you that this is typically an option that we guide clients away from.
Because of that potential risk.
Yeah, we don't want you to fall into the trap because you have a big change in interest rates called.
And most 401k plans will offer that option, but they also offer bond funds that are available to you that don't, I mean, you still have risk of loss, but you don't have an additional risk of penalty when you're making those withdrawals.
Yes.
Or changes. It doesn't have to necessarily be pulling money out of the account. It could be just you want to reallocate. You don't have that same risk involved. So this is another reason why your company-sponsored plan has a representative attached to it that you can have conversations with when you are making your allocation decisions. Also, if you're already working with a financial advisor, this would be a conversation that we would encourage you to have with them. We encourage our clients that are still actively at work to always bring along their 401k or other retirement plan statements. So not only can we ensure that we are well balanced across your entire portfolio, but we can provide education or have conversations about what your current allocation is inside of your 401k and what all of the options mean, so you can make an educated decision when you're allocating that 401k.
Yeah, something that I've always felt over the years is that your 401k plan or your IRA, pre-tax dollars that are invested in growing income tax deferred, since you can make allocation changes, change funds, change actually asset allocation, going stock to bond, etc. You can do this without being subject to income tax. They really are the great rebalancing tool in your portfolio. And as Aaron mentioned, I think it's extremely important here. You want to try to synergize what you have inside with what you have outside of your plan. They may be separate pools from an income taxation point of view. They may be different pools because of plan sponsors, etc. But synergizing these together will really help you over the long haul. And not only that, but looking at your 401k or other retirement account as that tool to do the true rebalancing in makes a lot of sense. So good question.
And our next texter writes, what is your opinion of cryptocurrencies? Are they the future of money and payment processing or something else entirely?
This is a great question. I think this is a question that the market is currently trying to determine. I think with crypto, are you whistling for attention over there, Dad, or what's going on?
The birds have an opinion?
The wildlife is looking for answers.
No, I'm sitting inside, so that's just electronic feedback. Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, I would say, I think, like I was saying, I think this is something the market's trying to determine right now. And I know that not all cryptocurrency is created equally, meaning that some cryptocurrencies that you see have different capabilities than others. So my opinion is that I think I'm taking a wait and see approach as to what the utility of cryptocurrency is in the future. I know there's been a lot of talk of digital currencies at the national level, both in the United States and in Europe. I think that's an entirely different conversation to be having, which is just because we have the capability, does that mean is that something that we want to move to? So I think this is a kind of complex conversation. We're really, along with AI, feels like we're at the precipice of something new. And that always takes time to figure out.
We're certainly in the early innings, and as you said, the regulation hasn't really caught up to
That's another good point.
To where we are. I don't see any FDIC or SPIC insurance involving cryptocurrency at this time.
You're right.
And hopefully, when that comes into the forefront, then the nature of the conversation will change. But we're not quite there yet.
Right, and there are some financial instruments now available that do create that protection, but you aren't necessarily owning cryptocurrency when you are buying those securities. This is very similar to commodities. So when we talk about precious metals and many people interested in owning gold, you have to be careful in what you are purchasing because not all securities centered around precious metals are made the same. Some are focused on miners versus the actual gold itself. Many of the securities where you are purchasing what you think is gold itself does not have what's called the requirement to deliver. So there's no requirement that if you said, I actually want to own the physical gold now, please send it to me. It's not necessarily how it works, which means do you really own it if you can't have it? So I think these things are definitely more complex conversations than just like what direction are we going, because that might lead to the questions about should we or should we not invest in these things.
Absolutely. Do we want to take our next break of the hour? Because we still have some more text questions to go through.
Fantastic. Let's take our next break so we can get back to what the people want, answers.
So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on retirement and your texts and hopefully phone calls right after these brief messages.
I'm Jason Quillman, owner of Window Depot USA of St. Louis, and we're celebrating America's 250th birthday by offering you $250 off each window and door with a qualifying purchase. Our advanced triple pane windows are rated Energy Star Most Efficient and offer superior energy efficiency, sound control, and condensation resistance with maximum energy savings. And with Window Depot's national buying power, we can offer you triple pane performance at double pane pricing. Call Window Depot USA of St. Louis at 636-939-4800 or online at windowdepotstl.com.
It's the GOAT! The greatest of all trade-in events at HW Kia. Bring your trade now and get up to $5,000 over book value for it. If your trade is old, tired, stinky, or being held together by duct tape and a prayer, HW Kia wants it. Paid off or not, bring that old goat in to HW Kia. Then drive home a new HW Kia K4 for just $189 a month. Yes, only $189 a month on a 24-month lease. It's the HW Kia GOAT event. The greatest of all trade-in events. Get up to $5,000 over book value for your trade now. New K4, just $189 a month. HW Kia in the heart of West County on Manchester Road. And remember, Big D wants to see ya in an HW Kia. Start now at hwkia.com. Summer sticker sales event. With approved credit to well-qualified buyers through Kia Finance. 2026 K4, $36.95 to its discount includes $850 in lease cash. 10,000 miles per year. No security cost. Plus tax, title, license, and admin. Fee expires 7/31.
The World Cup is here, and for a team to survive, they need a good defense. If you've been hurt in a crash or on the job, call Brown & Brown now for a free consultation. 314-333-3333. That's 314, all threes. The choice of lawyer is important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Tune in to the Big 550 for the daily World Cup updates with Sports Director Brendan Weesey, only on KTRS. Brought to you by Means Financial Group, HW Kia, Dance Express, and Yenser Family Dental.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Erin Lapidus.
Welcome back to our last...
Sorry, babe.
No problem. You're just enjoying the weather, I guess, or the scenery down in Florida.
No, I put on the mute button, so I forgot to push it. I'm sorry about that.
Technical errors.
Thank you. We've got about 12 minutes left in the show. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the already heated up text line.
Yeah, they're ready to go. And our next texter writes, can you talk about gifting from an IRA and gifting from a trust, revocable and irrevocable? Does anyone pay taxes? Difference between all. We are retired. Love the show. Thank you for all you do.
Wow, this is quite a question. So let's first start with, I think, Dad, why don't you just talk about what gifting is first?
Okay, so
and the limits.
All right, babe. So in terms of gifting, when we gift to human beings, that never creates an income tax situation for either the giftor, the grantor of the gift, or the recipient of the gift. You can gift up to $19,000 per year to every single living human being that you want.
So that means, just to give people perspective, Dad, if you and Mom were interested in gifting to someone like, say, possibly me.
Or me.
And my husband. You and Mom could each gift us $19,000 per person times 2 because you each can gift it to us, correct? So that means our total would be $38,000 per person if, the very generous Mel and Jeff Lapidus, also known as Mom and Dad, were to gift to their children Aaron and son-in-law Robert, we could each receive $38,000 without having to report anything on our tax. You would not have to report anything on your taxes. It's not taxable, but you do have to file a gift tax return if you go above that, right?
Yes, that's correct. So amounts above the annual limits do require the filing of a gift tax return. And I have to be honest with you, it ain't that easy.
That's right.
You'll need a CPA to do it. The instructions are very difficult. I tried to do it. I couldn't do it myself. So
tried to do it and had a conversation with the IRS.
You tried to give us money and they wouldn't let you? I can solve that.
Well, sorry, Rob, but it wasn't you, as it would be. So that's gifting. And again, you don't get a tax deduction, nor does the person receiving the gift ever have to pick up anything as income.
So then, Dad, could you quickly explain for everyone what the purpose of the gift tax return is? So if you do go above the limit, what is the consequence of that?
Well, as of this moment, we know that each person has a lifetime gift exemption of $15 million. So what happens is if you end up gifting an amount in excess of the gift tax limit each year of $19,000, that would then go and be used to reduce that $15 million lifetime maximum.
So that means
the IRS is basically keeping score.
Right. So that means that if you over the years gifted above that limit and had to file those gift tax returns on an annual or however many times basis, when you pass away and then when your spouse passes away, they're going to look and see, is your estate currently valued over the limit, which would be, with the unified credit, is that $30 million?
Right. It would be $15 million per person, and the unused portion of the $15 million gets carried over to the spouse. So let's use an example. Let's just say for fun that I was going to gift Aaron and Rob $100,000.
This is fun. Let's do that.
This is fun. It could be cash. It could be property. It could be anything.
It could be appreciated security. It's literally anything of value, correct?
Right. Now, I get to gift at the fair market value of the piece of that security or that property, whatever it would be.
So cash is just what it is. Because that's fair market. Okay.
Yes, on the date of the gift. I would file a gift tax return. I'm assuming I was doing this gift jointly with my wife to Aaron and to Rob. Or let's just say it was just to Aaron.
Simplify things a little.
We could say, okay, we have $100,000 of a gift, $38,000, $19 for me and $19 for my wife, is exempt from the gift tax filing, and so therefore the net amount that would be if you file for the 100 and then they take it off, the net amount would approximately be $62,000. So that $62,000 would then be used and broken up between my wife and I, $32,000 each, against our $15 million lifetime exemption. So
fast forward to you and Mom having passed away. Unfortunately, we're not wishing that to happen. If
my estate was in excess of $15 million, what would happen is that since I've reduced my gift tax exemption by $32,000, my real actual gift exemption would be $14,968,000. If I have an estate in excess of that, I would have to pay taxes on the amount in excess of $15 million.
That means whatever's right, but that means that whatever is in excess of that, I believe, isn't the estate tax 50%?
Yes, it starts at 50%. So bottom line is, for most of us listening, this doesn't really apply. The important thing is keeping score. If you don't file a gift tax return, then what happens is the IRS can actually come back and penalize you for not doing the return. So what's important is follow the rules and do the return. So if you don't mind, let's go to the different scenarios.
Right, IRA versus outside?
Right. You cannot make gifts to human beings from your IRA. Can't do it. You can make gifts to charitable organizations from your IRA, but you cannot make gifts to human beings.
And what that just means is that if you gift to a charitable organization, so a 501c3, that's a charity or a nonprofit organization, also universities fall into this category, you don't pay taxes when you make that distribution from your IRA. If you want to gift someone, a human being, money from your IRA, you have to pay taxes when the money comes out, and then you still have to follow all of the rules that we just mentioned. If it's over the gift tax amount, if it's over the gift limit for the year, then you need to file the gift tax return, because you're giving to a human, you're not making a charitable donation. So maybe the language should just be slightly different. Oftentimes we think of giving to charity as a gift. It's a donation. Giving to a human being is truly giving. You can't give through your IRA unless you're willing to pay the taxes and follow the gift rules.
Right. Now, when it comes to trust, I'm going to be a little bit fuzzy here because I'm not a lawyer. And certainly, I'm happy to be corrected if this isn't the case. But if you have a living trust, which we call a revocable trust, it's basically a holder for your assets during life, so that what happens is at death of one of the trustees of the trust, the property will then pass and bypass probate. So you're typically following the same rules as you would if it was an individual. Now, a irrevocable trust is different. You've taken assets, you put them into a trust that is outside of your direct control.
So then it would depend upon what the document said, most likely, as to what is allowed to be done and who is allowed to do it.
Yeah. What happens typically is that the trustee is the only one that's permitted to make gifts from an irrevocable trust, and you would not be the trustee of that trust. Because if you've done that, you have indirect control, and therefore what occurs is that you've blown the whole thing to pieces.
So it's not an irrevocable trust if you have control of the asset.
Exactly, or control, or even indirect control of the directions of the asset.
Does that flow to, like, you have influence over the person you named as the trustee?
Well, generally you're naming
like
someone. It could be a family member, but again, let's say as an example, let's say that I was creating a life insurance trust to hold the asset, hold my life insurance policy, so that they wouldn't be counted as a part of my taxable estate and therefore go against my $15 million.
Got you.
If the trust was in my name, I could name your mom as the trustee because she's not me.
Okay.
And the IRS is going to say it's your wife, and you may not even like her, but bottom line is that we're not calling that indirect control.
Okay.
Obviously, I could name you or your sister or a third party, and therefore there wouldn't be any type of control that's brought back to me.
Okay.
So you have to be very careful. Now, if it was a joint irrevocable trust, which I've never actually heard of, even though I'm sure it could be created, then if it was with your mom and I, then basically neither of us could be the trustee.
Okay, so that's definitely something that if you have a trust or an irrevocable trust and you are considering gifting, you're probably going to want to chat with the attorney or that created the documents for you, or the attorney you're currently working with if the original creator of the document is no longer available. So you make sure you stay within all of the rules. But taxation, I think we covered pretty nicely, which is if it's coming from an IRA to a human, it's still taxable and you have to follow those gift rules. If it's going to a church or a charity or a nonprofit, that is a donation, not a gift. And you can make donations there without paying taxes, but you have to be over 70 and a half in order to do that without paying taxes. So that's called a qualified charitable distribution, and that is for individuals over 70 and a half years old. I think the 70 and a half comes from the original required minimum.
When it was 70 and a half.
Exactly. So the original required minimum distribution age was 70 and a half several years ago. They have subsequently moved that from 72 to 73. Now, if you're born after January 1st, 1960, it's 75. They have not moved the qualified charitable distribution rule, which means you have to be 70 and a half. This is one of those rules that you must be that age in order to make the donation, just like you must actually be 59 and a half to make distributions from retirement accounts. it isn't the year that you turn 70 and a half, the year that you turn 59 and a half, unlike required minimum distributions where you just have to be turning that year.
And you have to make sure that that distribution goes directly from the custodian to the recipient. Does not go to your hands first, because then you lose the qualified distribution status.
That's right. This was a fantastic text question. We'll make sure that in our break, we'll make sure that we hit all the points. If not, we'll come back and continue to answer. So hang on through our break, and we'll be right back.
The rushing touchdown, and Missouri extends the lead.
KTRS AM, FM 1061, K291CW St. Louis.
I'm Brian Clark. Federal agents served subpoenas on New York Times journalists who had reported on security concerns involving the new Air Force One. Lawyer for the newspaper said this should shock the conscience of any American who believes in the Constitution and press freedoms. The Justice Department says its targets are not reporters, but those leaking classified information. Potential threats from Iran forced the president to change his plans, returning from Turkey after the NATO summit last week. But even though the U.S. and Iran traded fire, there's still hope for a long-term deal, says ABC's Martha Raddatz.
A senior U.S. official saying that the Iranians said firing on the ships was a mistake, an errant part of the Iranian regime that was trying to undermine the deal. We screwed up. Let's keep talking.
Elsewhere in the Middle East, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna says he was detained by Israeli settlers during his visits to a West Bank village on Thursday. He said,
"These hoodlums come in with machine guns, an M4, an American-made machine gun, and they detain us. They block off the road. And then they call the IDF, and the IDF is on their side, not on the side of the Americans."
His group was eventually allowed to pass. There were multiple water rescues Friday in Missouri amid dangerous flooding, says ABC's Morgan Norwood.
A state of emergency in Missouri after life-threatening flash floods swept through the region. Amy Wigard and her cousin Dawn were camping with a large group of friends and family in Lesterville.
We got out of the campers and the water was up past our knees.
When she says before dawn, floodwaters rushed away their 8 campers and 3 other vehicles.
We were just in total shock, didn't think this was really happening.
Fortunately, everyone in the group accounted for.
The CDC says another American's been infected with Ebola while working for a humanitarian group in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. There are more than 1,800 confirmed cases in the region. You're listening to ABC News.
My doctor told me my cholesterol is borderline, so I took control with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula. Garlic helps maintain healthy cholesterol safely and naturally. It's odor and taste-free, and Garlic is a world leader in garlic potency. I'm taking charge of my cholesterol with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula, cholesterol's natural enemy.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
Shh, here she comes. Surprise! They sent a duplicate shipment to your flower shop. Now you have to pay for 1,000 extra carnations. Also, there's a beehive outside your store, and they're super aggressive. There's thousands of them.
Progressive knows small business owners usually don't like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise, saving 10% or more on commercial auto insurance when you pay in full.
Also, the egg salad you just ate was expired. Gross.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
The housing affordability bill became law overnight, even without President Trump's signature, as he had refused to sign it because Congress did not pass his strict voter ID bill.
This housing bill passed with overwhelming support from Democrats and Republicans. Plus, it hits at one of the biggest issues for Americans right now, the cost of buying a home. And this bill aims to lower the cost by boosting supply, making homes cheaper to build, and restricting Wall Street investors from buying up single-family homes. And yet, Trump torpedoed the planned signing of this bill 10 days earlier, calling the bill a, quote, big yawn.
That's ABC's Selena Wang. There's a parasitic disease in 31 states, often spread by produce. The gastrointestinal problems could last for weeks, but experts say there are ways to reduce the risk of illness.
Cyclosporiasis is something you don't want. The diarrhea can last for weeks. Previous outbreaks have been linked to raspberries, basil, cilantro, snow peas, and salad mixes. Experts say instead of buying salad mixes, get a head of lettuce and peel off the outer layer. Washing fruits and vegetables in vinegar can help. That taste can be washed away in a salad spinner with water. And don't forget to wash the cutting board and the counter. Wayne Cabot, ABC News.
There's a family reunion in England. King Charles met his grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet, for the first time in several years, along with their parents, Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan, amid an ongoing rift in the royal family. I'm Brian Clark, ABC News.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to hour number 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement. As always, we like to kick off the second hour with our Smart Choices About Your Healthcare segment.
Absolutely, but keep those texts coming. We will definitely circle back to any we missed and any new ones that pop up in the interim.
That's right. So 84126 on the text line. And if you have a question, you want to hear your voice on the radio, 314-931-5877.
Yeah, we haven't had a phone call today. We'd like one. So
Absolutely.
Please give us a
It's
call.
raining outside. Give
right.
us a call.
I know you're listening out there. But for the time being, because you care, we talk Medicare. So let's begin by talking a little bit about Jen.
Okay.
Jen called and she wanted to know if her chiropractor would be covered and if she could do acupuncture if necessary.
Oh, so this is like a great topic because we have a lot of clients that have questions about alternative treatments that aren't necessarily covered by normal physician care. And so chiropractic care as well as acupuncture, massage therapy, these are all good questions.
And we're going to dive right in. And, Jen had only been on her Advantage plan for a couple months, and she said she wanted to go see the chiropractor, and she did, and she paid the $35 copay. And, the chiropractor is requesting that she set an appointment every 6 weeks. So, she's going to be going a lot more. So she asked, is there a cap on visits, or will she just pay the $35 every time? Not an unreasonable set of questions.
Great. So why don't we talk a little bit about chiropractic services under Medicare?
Let's. Covers only basic alignment. No soft tissue therapy, no spinal decompression therapy, no exercising and stretches, no cold laser therapy, only manual manipulation of the spine, aka that's a dressed up way of saying a basic alignment. So as long as Jan is getting a basic alignment, her plan will cover the majority of the cost, and she will continue to make her plan's copays.
So really, to answer Jan's question pretty briefly, Jan can go every 6 weeks, pay her $35 copay, as long as it's alignments, as you mentioned. Those $35 copays are all going to go towards her maximum out of pocket.
Correct.
Very cool. Okay.
So since Jan is on a Medicare Advantage plan, she's paying $0 a month in premium. She makes her copays, and she uses her plan when medically necessary. Each copay she makes goes towards that maximum out of pocket, as my wife said, and the maximum she can be billed for a calendar year on her plan is $3,200. So she's going to pay $35 for her basic alignment, and that $35 goes towards that maximum out of pocket. If she paid the $3,200 in medical copays, her plan would pick up everything medically through the end of the year, so she would not owe the $35 when she goes to the chiropractor.
So an easier way to kind of explain that would be, like, let's say Jan, she just had her visit with the chiropractor. She paid $35. between that visit and 6 weeks and the next visit, Jan doesn't have a great 6 weeks, and she ends up in the hospital. She needs labs.
boy.
She needs tests. She needs a surgery even. And somehow in that 6-week period, she pays out, or she is billed $3,200 or almost $3,200. She's done paying for the rest of the year.
Not just for chiropractic services, for all services
Right.
at that point.
Exactly. Everything excluding her copays for prescriptions is now going to be covered under the plan because she's hit her maximum out of pocket. So we're trying to cover all bases here, which is essentially saying you have a $35 copay under this particular plan. So if you're on Medicare Advantage, you might want to check your plan, see what the chiropractic copay is. But in the event you hit your maximum out of pocket, this is still a copay covered under the plan, which means it falls under the plan's rules. So if you've paid your max out of pocket, you don't pay anymore.
So let's say she didn't have the worst 6 weeks of her life in between chiropractic visits. Technically, if all she ever did was go to the chiropractor all year, she could go almost 92 times before she hit her max out of pocket. So she just pay $35 along the way for 90 plus visits to hit that max out of pocket. But she's only going every 6 weeks. So, that's about 8.5 visits a year. Now, if the doctor decides that she needs something else, like say soft tissue therapy, that will not be covered under her plan, and she would have to pay the full cost. So if the doctor charged $100 for soft tissue therapy, Jan would be on the hook for the $100, and that $100, very important point, would not go towards that $3,200 max out of pocket. Very important distinction there.
Interesting. So that's basically you've gone outside the plan rules. That means you have to take that responsibility. Now, I would also recommend if you are going to the chiropractor and they are recommending things above and beyond in alignment, they are well aware that it's not covered under Medicare, which means they may have either reduced pricing options, a package is available. This is very similar to many dentist offices actually offer their own dental benefits now. I won't call it insurance.
It's like a dental savings plan.
Exactly. This will be I'm sure that there are chiropractors out there that offer a savings plan, so to speak, or just other services with different rates. So you might want to have a longer conversation with your provider and say, I understand this is going to be an ongoing thing. Are there any discounts or ways for me to save some money on this?
And, it's just as an aside, some people really swear by the chiropractor, and some people think it's complete quackery.
And, this is one of these things, chiropractic care, acupuncture. Medicare still is a government program, which means it's going to move slower than many things, including science. So as science and treatments develop, that doesn't necessarily mean Medicare is going to reflect that immediately. I mean, I can think back to 15 plus years ago where you had a limited number of visits available to you with the chiropractor. It was still only alignment, and the copays were even higher because they were still sussing it out. So this is a much slower moving, Medicare is a much slower moving train in terms of benefit adjustments, and that's a lot of times to your benefit, so they don't cut benefits the same way other private plans do nearly as quickly, but it means it takes a little bit more time for them to add these extra benefits in.
Just as a personal aside, I was getting some tingling in my hand. Remember that?
Yep.
I hurt myself exercising, or I tweaked something, and went down to the chiropractor, and after a couple of visits, sorted me out. No more tingling. It just felt great.
This is not medical advice.
No, not at all. Just, being that we're on the subject, I thought I'd throw in some filler. Let's talk a little bit about acupuncture.
Okay.
It's going to be covered, but only for lower back pain. Very important distinction. Medicare will not cover neck pain, migraines, or arthritis. Just like chiropractic services, you will have a copay for acupuncture services, and your copay will go towards that max out of pocket. Oftentimes, chiropractic and acupuncture both have the same copay, but not always. In Jan's plan, it was $35 for acupuncture services, but unlike chiropractic services where there are no limits to how many times you can go, Medicare will limit that to 20 visits per year very important to understand those distinctions.
So if you have lower back pain and you would like to see an acupuncturist, you can only go 20 visits covered at your copay rate.
Which, if you break down over a full year, is almost twice a month.
Okay. But
so
if
you figure once every 3 weeks you can go and
it's all
basically meet that threshold of 20 at the end of the calendar year.
But if you go beyond that, you're going to have to pay out of pocket, and it doesn't go towards your max out of pocket.
Very, very important to understand how that max out of pocket works and how you transact with it, depending on what services you're getting.
Gotcha. Let's give the people some tips and tricks.
You know, some people get their copays mixed up between specialist visits, therapy services, mental health therapy, and chiropractor and acupuncture, which is understandable. Each of these use separate billing codes, so oftentimes you'll pay different copay amounts for each of these. For example, your specialist could be $25 on the copay, and your therapy services, which includes outpatient therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy.
Occupational therapy, too.
Occupational therapy may be $30. Your mental health therapy sessions, which include psychiatric or psychologist, may be $35, and chiropractor and acupuncture may be $40. You always want to check your summary of benefits to understand these distinctions. That way, when you show up at the doctor's office, there are no surprises.
Right. Or if you're working with Robert Frank in our office, you can always give them a call and say, hey, I want to go to the chiropractor. What's it going to cost? What are the rules? Or I need to see the cardiologist. What are those rules? Now, there's also different types of, you mentioned occupational therapy,
speech therapy,
physical therapy, but there's also other types of therapy. Many people may have noticed, if you have had any heart surgery, that there is cardiac rehab and cardiac physical therapy that is a separate line item. So you do want to be careful when you're looking at your booklet or when you are trying to calculate what you might owe or what your expenses you're going to have upcoming. A lot of these things are broken down, and again, this is to your benefit. You have a certain number of chiropractic visits that doesn't eat into specialist visits. Your specialist visits don't eat into chiropractic or acupuncture care, meaning, if you have to go to the dermatologist and the cardiologist, well, that doesn't reduce your acupuncture visits by 2. You still get the 20 full visits because they're separate. I'll call them line items in your summary of benefits. They are separated out for you, and I think that's a benefit because it allows you to maximize things.
Understanding how your plan works and how you're going to interface with it is going to save you a lot of time and aggravation on the other side of it.
And it's certainly, hopefully, going to give you a little bit of clarity on what you might owe or what you're going to owe. That's another excellent reason to chat with a professional because, of course, we can identify. Frank and Rob are great at identifying, do your physicians and prescriptions fit into the plan that you're selecting, but they can take it to a deeper level and say, well, what services are you in need of? When we send out that medical questionnaire to everyone, it says, who are your doctors? What are your prescriptions? But at the bottom, it also says, is there anything else you'd like us to know? I see the chiropractor X number of times per year. I want to go to an acupuncturist. I'm interested in something else.
I've been putting off dental work. What plan is going to give me the maximum dental benefit so that I can interface with a dentist and get the majority of it paid for, through them rather than out of my pocket?
Exactly.
All very important questions that we like to have a full view of so that when we're discussing your plan options, we can get you into the plan that's going to best fit your needs for the upcoming year because, your medical needs change periodically, and so do the plans.
Right.
So we always want to have a good pair of eyes on that, sometimes even 2, so that, you're getting into the right plan that, you don't feel you got stuck with something that isn't necessarily what you wanted or maybe even what you needed.
That's a great point. Excellent. Well, thank you, Rob. Do we have any text questions?
We do.
Oh, fantastic. Let's get to a few of those before we take our first break of hour number 2.
And our first texter of the second hour says, can you discuss the issues we hear with Advantage plans not approving tests, procedures, surgeries, providers, etc., versus supplement insurance?
So I would first say that under Medicare, you as Medicare enrollees, you have rights that most other individuals do not have with private insurance. That does not change depending upon if you've elected a supplement or you've elected a Medicare Advantage plan. Both of those options are required to provide you with everything that Medicare lays out as a benefit to you, and as long as it is recommended or prescribed by a physician. So there are times in which we see denials for certain tests. Those denials usually don't come with an outright no. It's, all right, we'd like to see that you do physical therapy before we do X, or we'd like a few tests before you have this procedure taken care of. Many times when we see denials, it's because the coding was incorrect or there's been a miscommunication between the provider and the insurer. So that is another reason why we always recommend that you work with a professional, because they can be there to help you work through these issues. Working with thousands of Medicare enrollees over the last decade plus at this point, I'm working on 2 decades now of working in the Medicare field, both with individuals that are on Medicare Advantage plans and individuals that are on the supplemental plans. I can remember almost every single denial that we have seen over the past 15 years. That is how few that we see. We always offer the service that we are here to assist if something like that comes up for you, but it's great that it rarely does. Now, it's not great if it happens to you, and that's why we're here to help. But I can say anecdotally from working with enrollees over the last 15 years that we are quite lucky in Missouri and Illinois in that we have excellent plan options available. Not only are they robust in terms of what they offer, but you have a wide variety of choices, not only within each insurance company, but across multiple insurance companies. And that not only gives you access to choice, but it creates competition. So that also leads me to believe that's one of the reasons why we see fewer denials. The other thing, and this is true on the legal side, which is that you often see those star ratings released during the annual enrollment period, which lets you, it's an accumulation of different points of interest that CMS, the Center for Medicare Services, is looking for with plans. This is on the Medicare Advantage side, and this is also with prescription drug plans. So it includes provider satisfaction, consumer satisfaction. So providers would be would be your doctors, your physicians, the pharmacists. Your satisfaction with the plan itself. Also the rates of rejection, the rates of denial for things. The plans, the more that they see denials that get appealed directly to Medicare, the lower their star rating can be. And also they run the risk, if they are working outside of the rules of Medicare, meaning they're denying things that Medicare says you're entitled to, they can lose their ability to sell these products in your service area. They don't want to lose that ability. Medicare tends to be a more lucrative line item for many of these insurers. So again, I like to say that Medicare is one of the only times that you get to be in the driver's seat of your care in multiple ways. You get to choose the plan you like. Your employer doesn't choose it for you anymore. Year. You get to make changes to it every year if you'd like. You also get to choose how you pay. So you pay on a monthly basis and shift the risk to the insurance company and spend a little bit more most likely? Or do you say, I'm going to share a little bit of the risk and pay less? I'm only going to pay when I actually consume care. So you have a lot of options as a Medicare enrollee. And again, this is a reason why working with a professional can not only lay out all the options to you, but they can let you know what the benefits and what the drawbacks are. And this is why it's great, because you get to customize it not only to what you need, but maybe if you're a luckier person, you get to customize it to exactly what you want.
And you get to customize it year to year because the plans change and your health needs change. So, we invite everyone to come in and put eyes on the new plans if that's something you're interested in. And, we don't have a dog in the fight as far as if you go to a Advantage plan or a supplement plan. We just want the plan that's best for you, and we don't take a one-size-fits-all approach because everybody's different. So we always work the equation from what are you taking, who are you seeing, and we work backwards from that. Do you have any other situations that we need to be abreast of? Do you, like I said before, about the dental?
Maybe you just tapped into a reason why we don't see as many denials as other people may. and that if we're putting you in a plan that you're not fighting, you might not see as many denials as if you're fighting against the plan that you've selected.
Well, the only denial that I've seen of note over the last, I want to say, year, when I've been working hand in glove with Frank, and sometimes you do need an advocate. Let me just say that from the get-go.
Sure.
Was on the supplemental benefits.
Interesting. So it was on a supplement.
Yeah, no, it was on. the add-on benefits of a Medicare Advantage. They weren't paying for a gentleman's green fees. And
so we're going back to the Aetna fitness benefit.
Right, and there was very robust benefits, but it was, again, going into what my wife said before, it was coded wrong. And so we had to move heaven and earth to get them to recode it so that he could get his benefit, and it took a lot. I mean, but this is why we're here. We're sharpening our elbows for you because we need to go in there and, we need to get what you got to get.
And that's an interesting one because that's not even medically related. However, Medicare does say that when you put it, that's why the plans have to submit their designs in advance, because when you put it in the booklet, that means that the enrollee is entitled to it. You have a lot more protection under Medicare than you do under other private plans, because it is, at the base of it, it is government coverage. You have to be enrolled in Medicare Part A and B to have access to a supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan, which means you are on government coverage at the base.
And I would also just say, as we wrap this Medicare session up, that we have some of the best plans that you'll find anywhere in the United States. I've run comparisons out west in California. I've run them down south in Florida.
And in New York.
And I can tell you that there is a night and day difference between what you're getting and what you're paying as compared to these other locations. So we really have it made in the shade here in the Midwest. I feel like Missouri is one of the best kept secrets in the country, and I hope it stays that way because, we don't...
Are you running for office?
Not yet, but when I do, you're going to be my campaign manager because I'm going to have to be reeled in because...
Reeling him in.
Right. You can't have me out there just, doing the...
Speaking off the cuff. We got to keep you on script.
Doing the Robert rally.
Speaking of Robert rallies, why don't we take our first break of our second hour? And when we get back, we'll be here to answer some more of your text questions. So please don't touch that dial, 314-931-5877 for a phone call or 84126 to send us a text. We'll be right back.
Look at our alums, the contributions that they have made throughout industries in the St. Louis region.
Terry Freerks, a graduate of the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
UMSL is embedded in the fabric of the St. Louis community. We're hands-on, and when our students graduate, they are definitely career ready, but maybe more importantly, they're career confident.
More is what moves us. Find your more at more.umsl.edu.
I'm Mike Robinson with Robank Properties. I want to buy your home. Any property, any condition, and always as is. I will pay top dollar with no contingencies and no inspections. You walk away with cash. So don't waste time and money making repairs and paying real estate commissions. Call me, Mike Robinson, at 314-283-0867. That's 314-283-0867. Or go to robankproperties.com. That's ROBANG properties.com.
It's St. Louis's biggest conversation. The Big 550. KTRS St. Louis.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Lang with Carter Pet Hospital, inviting you to join me every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3 p.m. with the Animal Advice Show. We'll talk about everything regarding dogs, cats, and other domestic animals. We'll discuss nutrition, training, regular checkups, invite special guests, and, of course, answer your questions. Join us every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3 p.m. for the Animal Advice Show on the Big 550 KTRS, the Animal Talk of St. Louis.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jbl550.com. medfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. It's, what is it? It's 10:26 here, 10:29 here on the Big 550 KTRS. And we appreciate Rob, you and Aaron doing that wonderful Medicare segment as always. And we do Medicare every single day in our office, so it's just great to have that backup for our clients as well as our listeners.
Dad, do you know that Mom is heckling me from text?
What about?
No, babe.
She said I'm old. She said at 2 decades you're old. I would just like to posit the question, if I'm old, what does that make her?
Ancient?
Ooh, I didn't say it. I just asked the question.
I didn't. It just popped out. This is
Interesting.
why I need my campaign manager.
Right. Turn off your mic.
You may have lost favorite son-in-law status there. What can I tell you?
I'll be working hard to get that back.
Well, I would use the expression "grown up" just to answer your question. 2 decades as a grown up.
Thank you.
Which is great. Well, you're welcome. And our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. So is it raining out there, babe?
I mean,
It's overcast and kind of drizzly.
yeah, it was raining. Last night, I think we had a severe sun. Last night, I didn't mention this yet. It was great. John Carney invited us to a Carney's Kids fundraiser. It was musical bingo. It was really fun.
It was for a great cause.
That's right. I'm hopeful that they raised a ton of money. But we were under and even Kent Earhart from KSDK, weather guy, and also Great Day St. Louis was there as well. And we were under severe thunderstorm warning, so we couldn't even leave the building if we wanted to. But no one wanted to because it was a great time.
Well, John supports a whole bunch of charities with Carney's Kids, and so that's wonderful. I hope you had fun.
We really did.
Sorry we missed it, and I'm sure you got a nice donation as well, so all good.
That's right.
We certainly did our part.
I'm sure that you did. I was going to ask, do we have any more text left, or are we moving on?
We've got a couple of text questions, and our next texter writes, as a follow-up to the crypto question, if you are managing our portfolio, are we investing in private equity?
No, not at the moment. We are not invested in private equity.
And that answers that question.
Dad, you want to add?
No,
I don't want to add to that.
I mean, we certainly have private equity available to us with clients, but the bottom line is, I don't know. I kind of look at it as we typically don't have enough information. With most private equity, the people that are developing the funds typically make a lot more money than the folks that are actually invested in them. And so, therefore, we have them, but we're not using them today.
I was just going to add to that. I mean, I think to dovetail off of that, we've seen a lot of instability in the private equity market, both credit and equity. And so I think we're kind of taking a wait-and-see approach, especially as they call it, the AI trade continues to progress. We want to see where the money is flowing before we get involved in things that are, I would say, more opaque than publicly traded funds that we have easy access to that are required to do certain levels of reporting by the SEC, and that we have easy access to information about what we are putting client money into.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you have to be vanilla. Which
Certainly
we
not. That's exactly right. There are multiple ways to get to where we want to go.
And our next texter writes, it seems like there's a rush of exciting IPOs coming to market. What are your opinion of SpaceX, Anthropic, and OpenAI? Are these things that we should be adding to our portfolio?
Well, great news on the SpaceX. Most people have had that added to their portfolio relatively recently, voluntarily or otherwise, because as they were added to the NASDAQ 100, It was added to quite a few mutual funds. It was added to all index funds that focus on the NASDAQ, that focus on large cap U.S. technology, that focus on large cap U.S. funds themselves. Or large cap U.S. companies themselves doesn't necessarily have to focus on technology. So you are probably a new owner of SpaceX, most likely in maybe even more than one place. And I would assume, based on the size of the IPOs that are coming or potentially coming throughout the end of the year, depending upon where they fall onto which index, you'll probably see those added into our passive portfolios, and many active managers are making decisions to add those positions into the portfolio as well.
Did you want to add anything, Jeff?
No, not at this particular moment. I would certainly say that if we're looking at these things, we would probably be looking at them as a bundle. And there are certainly lots of ways to get involved with AI that don't necessarily mean direct investment in specific companies who truthfully may be winners or losers over the long haul.
That's another good point. If you are interested in AI, just like if you're interested in any specific sector of the economy, there's also there could be tangential ways to get invested in which you are not necessarily investing directly in the headline companies that we're hearing about, or you're just giving yourself the opportunity to smooth your return, slightly hedge your risk a bit, as opposed to investing in one company and betting the farm on it, so to speak, spreading those funds out that you have available to do a little bit of what we might call sector investing across more than one company inside of that sector, which is something that we generally prefer to do.
Yeah, we don't know exactly who the long-term winners are going to be. So, I mean, if you have exposure to the whole sector without being concentrated in any one position, that certainly could help your portfolio.
Right, short and long term.
Absolutely.
I would think that crypto is certainly one area that we don't really know whether there's going to be one or more cryptocurrencies that are actually going to survive out of I don't even know how many there are.
A lot.
And there are a lot. And we had a discussion this morning before the show, not specifically about AI, but about infrastructure that is going to be needed, whether it's from utilities, whether it's data centers, et cetera, to support AI. And we're doing some investing for clients in those areas as well. So it's there's lots of ways to get to where you want to go.
And that's right. And that's another interesting conversation to have, because many people have been focused on those data centers, potentially investing there. That can be volatile. Maybe looking to broaden out past that is something that's could be appealing to the portfolio as well, and also to your risk tolerance.
And our next texter writes, I am not quite retired yet and probably have another 10 years before I do retire. My question is, do you offer advice on my plan selections in my 401k?
So we often work with individuals that are not quite ready to retire yet. What we call that is education. So we can chat about what your plan options are, what direction you are looking to go, what your goals are. Because as Dad always says, the investments are the tools, they are not the solution. So we do need to know where you're looking to go. Obviously, retirement is a goal, but that's a goal with many paths. So we want to determine where, exactly where we're going before we choose the path. And we're definitely there to be of some assistance and guidance in terms of what's not only inside of retirement plans at work, but what your long-term saving strategy is, either inside or outside of those plans. And that doesn't necessarily mean creating a new account outside of the plan.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is sort of repeating something we talked about a little bit earlier. For those folks that are in a position as our current texter is, in many cases, we're happy to visit with them, make some suggestions, educational recommendations. But at the same time, maybe more importantly, is to help them synergize the investments they have outside of their retirement plans with the ones they have inside. This can really be valuable in terms of getting basically your bus going in one direction at the same time. And then also talking about rebalancing. Most folks don't actively rebalance their portfolios, and there are obviously different ways to do that, whether it's through new contributions, whether it's through reallocating current positions that you have. And when we try to do this, we're trying to do this in the most tax-effective way, which is why using your IRAs, your 401ks, your 403bs, whatever it would be, these pre-tax accounts, even Roth, as a rebalancing tool for you, can be very valuable for you because, frankly, concentrated portfolios aren't always the best if you're concentrated in the wrong places.
And I would also just add, I know the question centered around investment selection, but I find that when we are working with individuals getting ready to retire, be that 5 or 10 years out, much of our conversation is not centered around investment selection. It's centered around a strategy of either additional savings, of debt liquidation, or of reallocation of your resources in different ways, or a realization that you are on an excellent path. All we need is a little bit more time and pressure to get us to where we want to go. And I think that that can be equally, if not more valuable, to feeling like you are on the right track to getting to where you want to be, because those are things that we can control. How much we save, how quickly we pay off debt, how quickly we accumulate debt. The market is not something we can control. The only way that we can influence our returns is by being well diversified over a long period of time, consistently either investing if we're still working or consistently saving by not spending in excess if we're already retired. So working on all of the pieces that we can control is one of the ways that we can create clarity and confidence to get you to where you want to go. The investment piece is an important piece, but it's usually secondary to those first matters.
Yes, honey. And again, the only thing I would add is a term that I don't think is overused, but certainly is something that's really core to everything that we're doing, which is tax efficiency. Making sure that the flows are going in the right directions at the right time is really makes a lot of sense. And certainly most of the conversations that we're having with clients after their game plans are set up is, Aaron or Jeff, where do I get the money?
Right.
They want to purchase things. Typically, they're larger purchases, or maybe they're obligations that they're helping a child or grandchild, whatever it would be, with education, whatever, that type of things. Where we're having long-term flows. We're changing our game plan. How can we do it in a tax-effective way? Not just efficient, but also effective over a long period of time. And I would certainly say that, we talk about 5 years from retirement, which is really, that's really pretty optimal.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we have had clients, frankly, that we've worked with for 7, 8, 10 years before they actually physically retired. But that runway we created was smooth, it was clean, and it was newly painted. And when it was time to take off,
all systems go.
All systems go. It was, for them, it was easy because their expectations were already built up.
Right.
The biggest issue that folks have is, or I should say the question they have in their mind, at least I've found, is how do I replace a portion of my income that I'm losing? And having the opportunity and the time to help build with folks the whole concept of, this is the algebra problem, how close are we getting? Are we in the safety zone in terms of withdrawals? How much do we need to withdraw? Where it's coming from? The more time you have to incorporate this into your thinking, the more confident you are.
Also, the more time we have to build those buckets, which is, sometimes we're having the conversation, your saving in your 401k is done, in the sense that we want to meet the employer match, but we don't want you to contribute the max anymore. Our game plan is we need to build up that after-tax savings for you, or we need to start paying off some of these debts at a more rapid rate,
right,
which is going to be more efficient. It's going to get us to where we want to go faster. So again, a lot of these questions don't center around what are we invested in. They center around, what are our habits, not only short and or long term. So it's important. I think it's definitely important for everyone that's considering retirement within the next several years to really sit down and take a look at all of the pieces, not just the investment piece. And with that, Dad, did you want to add?
I just want to add one last comment, which is your plan sponsors are required to provide you with options that are the good stuff. Okay? Not the worst performing funds, but good performing funds, index funds, etc.
And a well-diversified list of options, correct?
Well, that's right. That's right. And we know from studies that have been done over the last 45, 50 years in terms of behaviors and returns is that the primary component of the return in your portfolio isn't what you buy, it's the mix you have between stocks, bonds, and cash. So checking your mix, making sure that you're in a mix that makes sense, that gives you an opportunity to earn what you need to do to grow your portfolio to that point where we can begin to make withdrawals over a long period of time, is really where it's at. So that plus tax efficiency, plus the other things we've talked about here, which is, how do we get to where we want to go? And I would say, honey, I mean, maybe I don't think you're going to disagree with me, but I would tell you that I think that over 50% of the people that we visit with come in with the idea of, can I retire at this particular time? And most of the time we're selling them, they can retire earlier.
I think
they really have done that.
I definitely think we've had more very happy meetings than sending people back to work meetings, meaning now we're going to have to work longer than we thought. I think I tend to agree with you, which is that, and I think that lends itself to a really excellent position for our clients or even our potential clients that we've had these conversations with. Because again, another example of you finally being able to truly be in the driver's seat. If you want to keep working, if there isn't something more compelling to you than the paycheck, then you just know that you're continuing to make your situation better for when you do decide to retire. You're giving yourself extra buffer, extra time. Or a lot of times I'm having the conversation with people, which is, do you want to pay to leave work? And why I say it that way is because if we have people that are looking to retire before 65, there are expenses involved in that. And the number one thing is healthcare. Some people say, I will pay, I want to retire. I'm willing to pay practically a mortgage payment in premium on a monthly basis.
And that's what it'll be.
In order to do that. Or I don't want to do that, even if I could potentially afford to. I spent my life not doing that. I'd prefer to wait. So I think that as our environment changes, I think it really does change people's not only opinions, but it changes their decision making on what they're going to be most comfortable with. But it is nice to know that you have options. And I think that's one of the nice things that we do when we have those initial coaching sessions with potential clients is not only provide some confidence and clarity, which is our goal, but it provides you with the options and, or at least a clear path as to what those options are. Because Dad, as you say frequently, most of the time we are meeting with people and giving them confirmation of what they thought, or a little bit of clarity in where they're going. Because I always liked the visual that you used to give, which is people come in to see us and they kind of have their arms around everything they've done in terms of representation of their working careers. So all of the assets they've accumulated, savings, other financial instruments, their 401ks, maybe their pensions, and they brought it all and they're like, what do I do with this? I see I have it all. Where do we go with it? And that's kind of where the puzzle gets put together, is in that initial meeting is really kind of the rough draft of what it's going to look like. And I always say we write everything in pencil, not pen, because most of our decisions not only are changeable, but they're sometimes we could say correctable, in the sense that we zigged and it turns out that you zagged, and so it's time to make an adjustment, meaning we thought our plan was that you were going to work 5 more years, but maybe that's untenable. Well, now we need to make an adjustment. Having the plan gives us the ability to adjust the plan. Having no plan means you have nothing to adjust, which is what leads people to, I think, insecurity and a little bit of discomfort around stepping into something new. And retirement is going to be new for every single person that we chat with, most likely, because you haven't done it before. And you spent the better part of your life, most people I hear from 16 to 18 on, doing some form of work. And now it's time to say, I want to hang that up. That's a step into the unknown. The easiest way to make the unknown known is having a plan. And with that, go ahead.
Before we go, I know we need to take a break, and we will.
Will we?
All I can say here is that it is so. I mean, it is so powerful to be able to see your life literally on the screen, where we draw your game plan right in front of you, and to be able to look at the numbers and go, this is where I am, and this is the algebra problem, and here it is, and can I do this, or when can I do this? That's where the clarity comes in, and frankly, that's where the confidence comes in, because you can see it, we make it, we retain it, and it works great for you. So I couldn't be happier for those folks that come in and visit with us, whether they're 5 years, 10 years, etc. We're going to make sure they have more clarity than when they came in.
And with that, I know you've all been waiting for it because I've only alluded to it about 5 times now. We're going to take our last break of this hour, but when we get back, there's more text questions. We're happy to answer them, 84126 on the text line, or give us a call, 314-931-5877. We'll be right back.
A new way of banking is a touch away at Royal Banks of Missouri. Gone are the days of rushing to the bank before closing time. Visit their interactive teller machines to receive live assistance from a real Royal Banks employee, even in the evenings and on Saturdays. Whether you need to make a deposit, loan payment, or anything in between, you can enjoy simple, secure banking support with a friendly face you know and trust. Visit RoyalBanksOfMo.com to find an ITM near you. Royal Banks of Missouri, member FDIC and equal housing lender.
This is the Big 550 KTRS St. Louis, Alton, Valley Park, St. Charles, and the world.
Streaming live at KTRS.com.
Elevate your next event with STL Bartenders to Go, providing full bar packages, rental bar equipment, and bartender and server staffing. Book now and pay no sales tax with premium or Bartender's Choice bar packages. We'll get your party on. STLBartendersToGo.com.
In soccer, a guaranteed win is rare. But in real estate, Gloria Lou makes it happen.
Sell with certainty this summer with Gloria Lou at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. While the world's best score on the field, Gloria scores and sells for you this summer. Her summer upfront guarantee. Gloria will sell your home at 100% of market value, or she'll pay you the difference. Call 314-325-6888 or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Hey, we've got about 7 minutes left on the show. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the KTRS text line.
And we've got some more texts to get through before we're done. And our next texter writes, we are in the market for a new car. Is it ever a good idea to pay cash for a car from a brokerage account and about 1/3 from our Roth so our taxes don't go over 24%? Or is it better to take out a loan if it's 4 or 5%? Did I mention we do not enjoy car payments? We're retired, by the way. I don't enjoy them either, sir.
Well, I think it's great if you're able to maintain, if you're in the 24% bracket, you have a strategy for being able to stay in the 24% bracket, then I think that I like that strategy, especially if you don't like car payments. Some people are okay with carrying a note for a while. And in fact, sometimes we recommend that if they're not in our texter's position, and that making withdrawals from accounts is going to move us into different brackets. The only thing I would be careful of, which I think in the 24% bracket you should be okay, is that you are not going to bump yourself into a new Medicare premium. So you're going to stay under that $216,000 limit, because you may be able to stay there in the tax situation, because if you're selling from a brokerage account with long-term capital gains, that may keep you below in the 24% bracket, but you may find yourself above that with Medicare premium. So just be careful with those two different competing thresholds.
And the loan could certainly work, maybe not at 4 or 5%, but I see a lot of advertisements at 0 or 1%, and that certainly is pretty attractive. So it could be an all. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing solution.
Sure.
I had this conversation 3 times this week, and I would tell you that one thing that our texter might not have considered, especially if they're itemizing their deductions, is possibly a home equity line of credit.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
If they do have some type of coincidental improvements that they're making to their home, we know that the interest from those loans can be deductible if they're really used for home equity, improving your home. So with a couple of conversations we had, we basically said, let's make a loan equal to the improvements that we're doing, use that in terms of dealing with the car, and then basically we pay them back the way that we want to. Becoming your own banker makes the most sense. Not having payments makes the most sense, and a home equity line of credit can be very, very flexible to your needs. So something to consider.
That's a great point.
And our next texter writes, as a follow-up to a previous question, I am in a similar position as your previous texter, as in I am not going to be retiring for another 10 or 12 years. My question is, what is your opinion of target date funds? I see these funds in my plan selection choices of being retired by 2035, retired by 2040. Are these preferable, or should they be avoided?
So these are great options for people that do not want to allocate on their own. But what you want to do is you still want to take a look at, just like we were discussing before, the number one determinant of your investment results is going to be your investment mix. What these target date funds do is, as you approach the date listed, so let's say it's target date 2030, they're going to incrementally increase the bond or fixed income component of the portfolio that was built. Now, that might make you unnecessarily underinvested. So my recommendation would be is to take a look at what the mix is, equities to fixed income, in each of these options, because they also do vary based on the fund company that is offering them to you. So there isn't uniformity across each fund company. You want to take a look at what the mix is and find the mix that you are comfortable with, and then on a periodic basis, every couple of years, reevaluate where the mix lies. And you can always say, move me to, I was in 2030, now move me to 2035, because that puts me back into the mix that I am most comfortable in. It's almost a way of rebalancing, and it rebalances the whole portfolio for you at one time.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is when you choose a mix, don't mix.
Right.
Which means with target date maturity fund, it's really you're allocating your entire portfolio. Don't go adding an S&P 500 or whatever, anything else to it, because what you'll be doing is you'll be changing your mix. So if you want to go that way, you want to watch the paint dry, target date maturity funds can be very great. And also a lifestyle fund, which is the other side of that, where the asset allocation is being constant, is not a bad deal either. And I actually prefer those.
Yeah, right, because that means you don't have to do the additional work of where has my mix ended up after several years. Do I have to move out again? The life cycle or lifestyle funds, those stay stagnant in the sense that their mix will be held. A lot of fund companies offer both. So you want to take a look if you have some other options. But just like you said, Dad, with all of those, you don't want to mix because they're creating a balanced portfolio for you. So not only could you create, could you throw off your mix, but you could create over concentration in places without necessarily realizing it, because the target date or lifestyle cycle funds are usually made up of the funds you have access to. So you're just doubling up.
Exactly. And then again, try if you can to synergize that mix with what you have outside.
Great point. Do we have one last one to wrap up because we've only got about 40 seconds?
Yes, and our next texter writes, I have inherited a Roth IRA. Doesn't it make the most sense to leave that money in there for as long as possible?
It is allowed to continue to grow. You don't have required minimum distribution obligations, and when you pull it out, there won't be any taxes for you. So if you have no need for the funds at the moment, then it is a great idea to hold it as long as possible. The other great idea is to tune in next week from 9 to 11 to hear us on Saturday mornings. We'll see you next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more straight talk on retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS.